is Indie Plus Gaming as Other. That's actually not me. This is Julia Ellingbo, and I am part of Indie Plus Gaming as Other. I have Kat Jones and Misha B and Strix Beltron, and we are going to talk about Larping as Other. And this is intended to be a three-part series where we will delve deeper into the ideas of LARPing and LARPing as Other, and LARPing in a LARP where you're the other, either as a character or as actual human being person. So to start, I want to do a quick little go around about how the three of you guys got into LARPing and why you like it. And we'll start with the person I can see who's on my left, and that's Kat.
So I got into LARPing, as many people do, through Vampire LARP. So I was in college, and some good friends of mine were the organizers of Vampire LARP at our campus and invited me to come along, and I got all dressed up in my punk vampire costume, and that was my first LARP experience. And the thing that I really like about LARPing is that you can sort of physically experience things and sort of embody your character in a way that you don't in tabletop.
Okay, thank you. I also forgot at the beginning of the show just to remind everybody who's watching that this event upholds the Indie Plus community standards, and to find more about those standards, Google Indie Plus Community Standards. And please be aware that this event may include discussions about or descriptions of gender and or race issues and explicit and or abusive language. And we haven't been quite gotten there yet, but it'll probably happen. So, Misha, how did you get into LARPing?
So like Kat, Vampire LARP. Although I went with the goth clothes instead of the punk vampire clothes, just saying, I was a Toreador, I was cool. So I had the velvets and the silks and all the fun stuff. And yeah, I was home for the summer. I had been playing tabletop at my college, but when I was home for the summer, I was trying to find something else to do, because I didn't really want to get into a campaign where I'd be leaving in a couple of months. So a friend of mine said, hey, we're going to be going and playing Vampire down by the boardwalk and the waterway. And so I'm like, sure, I'm in. And thus began LARPing.
Oh, cool. Okay. And Strix, how did you get into LARPing?
So I must admit my first LARP was also Vampire, just like pretty much everyone else on the planet. I was a freshman in college, and I actually did it by accident. I was helping a friend out at a science fiction and writing convention. I was setting up an art gallery, and I was nerdy anyway, and I already liked gaming, but I heard that there was this game going on and that all of these young people were playing. And I went to go investigate it, and it was called Vampire, and it was a LARP, and I was like, that's tabletop, but you walk around, that sounds cool. And so I had no idea what I was doing. I was dressed as a pirate, and I played my first vampire game, and it kind of went from there. I think what I like best about LARPing is the immersion aspect. Tabletop is fun because you can talk about your character and you can sort of role play it, but with LARP, I feel like you take it that next step further and really, like Kat said, embody what's going on, which I feel is much more fun and enriching.
Cool. And I, too, got into LARPing through Vampire LARP. Not in college, but I played out of college. It was just actually a few years ago. And, again, the thing I loved most about it was being able to really embody the character. I really love costuming and other sartorial pursuits. I just like clothing and garb and stuff. And so it was a fun way to enjoy doing that, you know, getting in touch with my costuming roots. And then I also like sort of being the character. I had actually played, well, I guess it's not really playing, but I had participated in SCA a couple of times, and That's not so. It's not too far from LARPing. Also, Renaissance fairs not too far from LARPing. If you're in the cast of the fair, you have a character and you play out that character as you're walking through this vast fair. So those were the things that I loved about it. And vampires, yay, really fun. Vampire LARPing, it was good. It was good. So next question. As we're breaking this up, we wanted to look at LARPing the other, as in your character being an other, and then LARPing as a person of an othered group within. So you being the other, where everyone else is not, and maybe your character is or is not that much different culturally or ethnically from everyone else. So I want to talk about personal experiences playing that other character. And Misha, let's start with Misha.
So the same vampire LARP that I was playing that summer, my Toreador had died, so I was creating a new character, and the organizer said, "Hey, how'd you like to play a werewolf?" And so for a couple of weeks, it didn't last very long because apparently everybody had access to silver. I got to play a vampire or a werewolf and a vampire LARP. So I got to run around, trying to kill everybody else for a while. It was kind of fun, a lot of PvP, and so it was kind of interesting playing. Everybody's playing these supernatural creatures, but hey, I'm a different supernatural creature, which means I have different powers, and they had to figure stuff out about me that they wouldn't necessarily. Like, you might know, okay, a Bruja, their weaknesses are this, their strengths are this, but oh wait, there's a werewolf. Wait, there's all kinds of different kinds of werewolves, and now we have to figure out what kind of werewolf this is, and it's not just So yeah, it was kind of fun to inhabit that whole different plane of otherness going on there. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, okay, there. Sorry, I was muted. All right. So when I first we were talking about this, I was thinking of this question, and my idea was that we were all going to talk about different sort of ethnicities. And when you said I was a werewolf and a vampire, I just absolutely love that. And I think it sort of brings the point home that you can be anybody. Can be an other and understand the strangeness, for good or bad, how that feels. And that's also another thing I kind of like about LARP, is that as you are playing this completely other person, you can develop some empathy on a different level, just as in tabletop, of course. But you're also getting to wear costumes. Strix, tell us about your other experience.
Well, sometimes inhabiting an other works, and sometimes it doesn't. So I think my example that I will pull is also from Vampire. I guess today's just Vampire Day. I had decided to play a Nosferatu, which, if you're not familiar, they're these ugly, hideous, monstrous vampires. Not at all like the swanky Toreador or the Ventru, the nice-looking ones. And I played it to the hilt. I was like, lurching and like nasty, and I talked mean, and I was really confused the whole game because no one was treating me like I was a Nosferatu. They were treating me like I was me, like pretty girl Strix me. And I was like, but I'm so bleh. And they're like, ooh, yeah, we're going to treat you like a pretty girl. And I was very confused because I was like, okay, I wanted to play this other role, but I didn't arrive there because the people that are playing with assumed that I was the other me. It was a very confusing meta situation where I didn't successfully inhabit the role of the other. And that was the first time that had happened to me, and I was just really confused because I was a teenager and I was like, I don't get what's going on. Now I understand, right, that there are signifiers, both in character and out of character, that people project in LARP because it is bodily, right? You're physically there. And so sometimes what happens is wires get crossed and people don't know which signifiers to interpret and which ones to not in order to identify a person with their character. And we see that go both ways. So I thought that was a really interesting example of, well, you can inhabit the other sometimes if everyone else lets you.
Awesome. And Kat, are you going to break the streak of vampire examples?
Yes. I think I'll go ahead and offer a non-vampire example. So I played in the US run of Mad About the Boy, and my character was part of the Muslim Sisterhood. And so we were 3 Muslim characters, and we were the only 3 Muslim characters in the game. And I really sort of deliberately wanted to play an other character. So I chose my sort of costume and everything, and went into the game really expecting to feel very much like the other, because I think my character that was a defining characteristic, was that she had really dealt with a lot of discrimination and really felt like the other. And my experience in the game was actually the opposite. That because I had the signifiers, right? I was wearing a headscarf and black clothing. Because I think I looked so other, people sort of went out of their way to make me feel welcome, to make me not feel other. And then it ended up being this other group of women who were sort of the 3 conservative women in the group who really bear the lot of the negativity. But that I had this really empathetic experience with them because I was playing a character who had such a strong relationship with being othered herself. So even though I wasn't the other as much as I had expected to be, I did have this really strong empathy with other people who were having that similar sort of experience in the game.
Great. For the sake of time, I want to break here, and hope everybody will stay tuned for the next one next month. And then there's another one next month. So just to wrap up quickly, if we could just each go around the room and sort of talk about just very briefly, what you took away from playing the other in each of your situations, and how that might help others, I love that word, sort of bring in, either in design or in play, things to consider when you have a character who is very different from other characters in some way, whether it's just an entirely different ethnicity if you're playing with actual human beings, or different creatures. And I think that in a lot of ways we can really take both ideals and sort of overlap them and make them work with each other. So we'll start with Kat again, since so Kat.
I think for me, again, this idea of LARP being an embodied sort of thing, and that you experience it sort of on your body and with your body, and the way that sort of like Strix was talking about, that you signify otherness a lot of times through bodily signifiers, whether it's clothing or skin color or something else. But there's also the ways that those signifiers are being read. And that the group that you might assume to be the other is not always going to be the group that gets othered in a particular situation. And that the context is really important for how signifiers are read and how they're interpreted.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go into Strix.
Sure. So I would say, from this experience, that playing the other is complex, and it requires the participation of everybody around you, not just you. So it's important in your gaming community that if you really want to engage, right, in playing an other, that everyone is on board, and whether that's like talking before the game about what's going to be going on, or having a set of community standards about signifiers, that might help make the communication, the bodily communication, more clear.
All right, thank you. And Misha?
I would say just think about what it is that what your characters are, and think about how your character could be different from the other characters that are like you, if you're trying to play the other. So, like, okay, we're playing supernatural creatures. Everybody else is a vampire. Okay, well, you're a werewolf or you're a mage. Or, hey, we're all playing vampires, but everybody else is playing a Toreador, so I'm going to be a Nosferatu. And so all these things, yes, they're choices that you make to choose a character that's other, and just try to mix it up a little.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for stepping up, and I look forward to chatting with you guys next month on part 2 of LARPing as Other, and hope that everybody's watching will watch again next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Julia. Bye.
Bye.